You'd think a search engine learns what you want just by watching what you click. Seems pretty simple, right? But what if that simple act of clicking is actually teaching it all the wrong lessons? Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on the hidden biases in your clicks and the, frankly, bizarre mistakes they cause.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with this big dream of a self driving search engine. Then we'll see why the first, most obvious idea just completely fails. I mean, spectacularly. And after that, we'll upgrade it step by step to fix some of these really sneaky problems that are hiding in our own clicking habits.
So, the ultimate dream, right? For any search engine, it's to become completely automated. I want you to picture a self driving car, but instead of navigating roads, it's navigating information. An engine that is constantly teaching itself, getting smarter all the time, just by watching what millions of users, people just like you and me, are doing online.
In this whole thing, it works in a continuous loop. Think about it. The system takes in all our user behavior, basically all our clicks, and that becomes its new destination. Then it retrains its ranking model to, drive towards that goal. And finally, the most important part, it checks in on itself to see, hey, are these results actually getting any better?
Okay, so this brings us to the most crucial question. How do we actually tell the system what's a good result, what's relevant? Well, the most obvious idea, the one that probably just popped into your head, is to just count the clicks. The thing that gets clicked the most must be the best. Simple, right? No, there's a name for this. It's called click-through rate, or CTR. And the logic, it feels foolproof. If people are clicking on it, it must be relevant. But, and this is a big but, this simple assumption has a massive, fatal flaw. A flaw so big it can lead a search engine to think a random movie is the #1 result for, of all things, a dryer.
Yeah, this is exactly what goes wrong. A real search team using this simple just count the clicks model found that when people searched for dryer, one of the top results was a completely unrelated movie. And look, this isn't just a funny little glitch. No, it's a symptom of a really powerful hidden bias that's at work behind the scenes.
And here's the villain of our story. It's called position bias. It's just a fundamental part of how our brains work. We instinctively trust the search engine, right? So we are way more likely to click on the first or second result we see simply because it's at the top. And this trains that simple CTR model to just keep them there, creating this feedback loop, even if they're totally wrong. And if you don't believe me, the data tells the whole story. Just look at this graph. See that massive drop-off in clicks? The first position gets a huge chunk, 25% of all clicks, while the third position gets just 8%. It's not always because it's the best result. It's just because it's first. The position itself is creating the clicks. So how in the world do we fix this? Well, our model needs an upgrade. It needs to stop thinking like a dumb machine and start thinking more like a human user. Instead of just logging every single thing that appears on the screen, it needs to figure out what a person actually saw, what they actually considered.
And this brings us to a really key concept. It's called an examine. Think of it this way. An examine is that moment when you, the user, consciously consider a result. That's what we want our model to learn from, the stuff you actually noticed, not just everything that happened to flash by on the screen.
And this difference between an impression and an examine is absolutely crucial. An impression, that's the machine's view. It's just what was on the screen. But an examine, that's the human's view. It's what your brain actually processed before you made the decision to click or not to click.
Okay, so there's a smarter model called SDBN, and it makes this simple but honestly brilliant assumption. It figures, hey, if you scrolled all the way down and clicked on the 8th result, you examined the 7 results above it. So now instead of dividing clicks by all the impressions, it divides them by these examines. And just like that, the results become so much more logical. That weird movie, gone. And actual dryers, they pop right up.
All right, so we've solved position bias. Awesome. But of course, in fixing one problem, we've uncovered a new, even sneakier one. What happens when a search result gets looked at just one time and gets one lucky click? Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine a rookie baseball player, first time ever at bat, and bam, they get a hit. Technically, their batting average is a perfect 1.000. But are they the best player of all time? No, of course not. The problem is that our new, smarter model is still easily fooled by this kind of beginner's luck. And this actually happened. For the misspelled search Blu-ray, a 10-pack of empty plastic disc cases got a perfect relevance score, a perfect 1.0. How? Well, it was examined one time and it was clicked that one time. That one single lucky click allowed it to shoot to the top, beating out actual Blu-ray players that had way more data. This is a new problem, and it's called confidence bias.
So, to fix this, our model basically needs to be, well, less gullible. It's too easily impressed. We need to give it a more reasonable starting point before it sees any data at all. You could call it a dose of healthy skepticism. The way this is done is with a pretty neat statistical tool called a beta prior. The easiest way to think about it is that it's the model's starting belief, or its default opinion. So instead of starting from zero and being totally blown away by one or two lucky clicks, it starts with a more grounded baseline belief. It'll only change its mind when more and more evidence comes rolling in. And here is the payoff. This is what it's all for. Remember those disc cases with their perfect but totally misleading 1.0 score? Well, with our new, more skeptical model, their grade plummets down to a much more realistic 0.31. And now, the actual Blu-ray player and the movie, the results that have more data backing them up, they rightfully float to the top where they belong. So think about what we just did. Just by correcting for two seemingly simple biases, position bias and confidence bias, we've built a dramatically smarter search model. But it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible forces, what other hidden assumptions are quietly shaping everything you see and everything you click on every single day?